This is INCRadio DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us on INC Radio New York. I am Sister Mika Jamal As. I'll be your host for today's episode. And with me today is Sister Abby. Hi, Sister Abby. How are you doing?
Hello, Sister Mika. I am doing okay on this unfortunate cold and rainy Saturday, but I am glad that we are here together and we are having another episode of INC Radio New York.
As am I, Sister Abby. I know it's gloomy and wet outside, but that's okay. You know, April showers bring May flowers, as they say, right?
True.
Yes, we gotta be patient. So yes, and we have our very special guest, which we'll introduce in just a little bit. But let's kind of talk about our main topic, right? So being in the outdoors can be a fun way to experience nature, unwind, and create lasting memories. And one of the ways that we can do that is by camping. So in order to have a fun and a safe camping trip, one has to have, of course, knowledge and preparation. So today we are going to discuss and provide tips on how to be properly prepared for our first camping trip. And especially for our upcoming district activity where we are going to be camping. So for those who are in our YouTube live chat, hello, everyone. Please tell us, what is your favorite thing about camping and why? And if you haven't camped before, send us your questions when it comes to camping, and we will do our best to answer it throughout our show. So, Sister Abby, can we introduce our very special guest for today?
Yes, we have Brother Joe from the local of, I believe, Woodbury, New York. Hello, Brother Joe. How are you doing on this Saturday morning?
Hello, Paul. I'm doing great, Paul. Enjoying this snow in our winter time. I mean, in our springtime.
Yes, we, I guess, had a little bit of a snowstorm this past, Thursday night and also Friday evening. So it's kind of an odd time to have snow, but anything can happen in the Northeast. So I know we did a little brief introduction, but can you kindly, again, introduce yourself, any duties, and why you like camping so much?
Yes, Paul. So, in outside, my name is Joe, but in our church, Paul, I go by Brother Forrest.
Oh, so you're the brother fourth in
Yes,
our
Paul.
chat. Okay, nice to meet you now. Putting two and two
Hi,
together.
Paul. Brother
Okay.
Forrest, Paul, from Woodbury, and today is not sunny, but it's still a beautiful day, Paul.
Well, thank you, Brother Fourth. And how did you get started with camping?
How did I get started with camping? Well, ever since I was young, growing up with our family, Paul, every year we would always have camping trips that I always look forward to. And ever since, it was just our part of our yearly activities, Paul.
And what made you continue on with camping? What's your favorite part about camping?
My favorite part about camping, other than loving the outdoors, Paul, is the most economical way to stay overnight. Like when you go places, while you use your other funds to explore other things, and use your budget for some other fun activities. But
Yeah, and I think in our pre-show you also correct me if I'm wrong, but also it's a good way to like kind of see like different nooks and crannies of the United States, or like the rural part of like,
oh, right,
right.
po. So when we travel across the country, po, most of our overnight stays was on campgrounds because that was again the most affordable way to stay overnight while you go visit national parks and other sceneries across the country. But
All right. So we'll get into like kind of, I guess, the basics of camping. Um, the first things first is that how do you choose a campsite? Like, what should we look for in when we want to set up camp?
so when we want to set up camp, the most important thing is to find the flat level ground because you don't want to be on a slope where you're gonna keep rolling while you're falling asleep, or
Mhm.
you also don't want to be in a low lying part of the area where if it rains, water will accumulate and start having a bad night because your sleeping bag is wet.
Okay, so like the most important thing is really to try to stay dry and warm, right? Right, brother?
Yes, spot. And
Oh,
make sure your tent is level on a leveled surface spot.
okay. So I know that
Also
we
want to be
also,
comfortable, right? That's
yeah.
why it's very important.
Yeah, sleeping is also important. Like we had a show a couple of nights, not nights, a couple of weeks ago about the importance of sleep. So, even though we're not in our homes or in our comfy beds, if we want to have a good restful sleep when you're camping, make sure that again you're dry, you're warm, and what is the general rule, brother? I know we mentioned this during our pre-show. When trying to, in addition to like finding a cool, dry place or a level place to set up camp, like are there some areas that we should be aware of that we cannot set up camp, or can we just like go into the woods and then just have at it?
Well, we want to avoid setting up on private lands. Make sure you're in public or make sure you're authorized to camp in that area. And also, I want to add if you're going to set up camp next to trees, make sure there are no dead branches that might fall over your tent and cause injury. And also like the rest of our campers, we don't want bugs and mosquitoes, so you want to avoid setting up camp next to standing water where mosquitoes will breed and start biting you.
Yeah, that's right. So Brother Fourth, you mentioned earlier, how far do you have to be from like water when you camp?
Oh, yes, boss. So the general rule would be like 150 feet away from body of water, any kinds of body of water, or 150 feet away from hiking trails.
Interesting. How far, Sister Abby? How far away is 150 feet?
I okay. So when we park, I'm just kind of thinking about for like fire
Fire
hydrants, right? It's
hydrants?
like 25 feet. You have to park from a fire hydrant. So that's like 4 times that. So maybe I think
150. Yes.
yeah, I don't know. I guess you can bring a tape measure. No, you can't because that's too far. But I guess in general, just if you're going to start off camping, just go to like, a campsite. Like those are, established, approved sites. And then once you get more seasoned or more experienced, then you can kind of venture off like off the beaten path. Is that a fair
Yeah.
assessment, brother Fourth?
Yes, boss.
Okay. All
That's
right.
right. And like in national parks and in different parks, they do have designated camping sites, and they will let you know that they usually have like maps, or they'll tell you where you are allowed to camp. They'll also have signs when you're already, trudging through the woods.
Yes, boss. That's
All
what they
right.
would call a dispersed camping area spot.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, that's good to know. So now we know how to like pick a campsite or where we're going to establish our setup. So what are some things that we are the essential things we should prepare for, should bring when we go camping?
Our number one gear to bring for is our shelter, which is our tent.
Would you mind showing your lovely setup in the back, Brother Fourth?
Yes, but in the back I have this is this is the most basic tent, which is a dome type of tent. So it's a freestanding tent, very easy to set up, very compact,
It's so cool.
I
and
know.
you don't have to tie it down just to let it so to keep it from let it stand up. But
Okay. Does it matter what kind of tent you have depending on the weather? Like when you show this, it looks really thin. Like how does that keep someone warm? Or how do you keep warm with a tent that looks kind of thin?
well, the tent is just there for to protect you from the rain, from wind, from bugs. But to keep you warm, for you have to have the right sleeping bag for the
Mm,
type of weather, and you also want to set up. You want to be elevated, and you want to be off the ground, like using a sleeping pad. Or in my setup, I'm using a cot. So I set up my tent on top of the cot, so I have this much of clearance from the ground.
okay.
Interesting. Oh, Brother Fourth, I do have a question from the chat. Sister Cheyenne says, "Are Denver and Cookie in the tent?"
Um, not this tent because we cannot fit, but I do have a larger tent where all three of us fit very comfortably.
That's so cool. So it is very important to pick the right sleeping bag, right? To make sure that you're warm.
And yes, Paul, and most sleeping bags have different ratings. So you have ones for summertime, like 60-degree sleeping bag, and you also have for winter time that goes down all the way to negative 30, negative 40. But those are really big and not packable anymore. So you want to pick the right sleeping bag just for the weather that you're going to be on or in.
So in addition to a sleeping bag, like what else are in a tent? What other things that we should are essentials for camping?
Well, you're going to want to have in your tent, they come with guidelines like this. These are not just for decorations. These are meant to keep your tent from flying off the ground
Mm,
when it's windy out. Paul. And you also have these tent stakes that you must use to secure your tent on the ground. And I advise to get some type of hammer or mallet. If you don't have that, you can always use a rock.
okay. Can you give us like a brief how to in setting up like your campsite? Like you put down your cot, your tarp, and then
Also, yes, but most like if you're backcountry camping, the sides are not going to be clean, so you're going to want to remove the twigs and make sure your area is flat, free of rocks. And also, you don't want to mess up your tent because you want to keep using it. So you might want to use a tarp or what they call a footprint to set up your tent on.
okay. And like your tent all comes with instructions, so we should follow how to
We should
set up the
probably
tent, use the
read that
stakes
little
and all
paper
that
there.
rope and whatnot. Okay.
Yes, but
All right. So most important thing, another important thing is we have to think about food. So when we're camping, like what are some cooking equipment we should consider bringing?
cooking equipment. If you're doing car camping, you don't have to go out buy special camping cookware. You can just bring whatever you have in your kitchen.
Hmm.
And but if you're trying to pack light, you can have something like this portable pot that right now that's stuck. That you can use to cook anything with.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this portable burner that packs really small that
Okay.
you can
Mm.
screw on to a fuel like this and just start cooking.
All right. I never knew that there was like compact, I guess, uh
Cookware.
stoves. Yeah,
Yes,
in
but
cookware. Okay. All
But
right.
it's so convenient.
I know. It's like you can like basically put everything in the backpack since it's like so compact.
yes, but you're gonna want to try to always pack light and compact when you want to go camping. But
Try not to like bring the whole house with you essentially.
yes, but
Pack
Well,
your essentials.
Brother Alex de Guzman says jet stoves or yeah, jet stoves are great. What are jet stoves?
that's one of the popular brand pot, but pretty much it's this type of cookware pot.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting. Thank you
okay.
so much. So, aside from cooking equipment, right? Aside from like also like keeping us safe from the weather, what else do we need to keep safe from when we camp that we need to think about, and what can we do with that?
You might want to limit interaction with the wildlife pot, like bears, raccoons. And one way to keep them away pot is to have you to do cleanup after you cook and do your dinner before you go to your tent pot. Make sure all your food and other pantries are stowed away in the car or inside your tent pot so they will not smell it.
Got
And
Well, what if? So one of the questions in the chat also is from Sister Christine. What are the tips to do or to avoid if you encounter any animals near the campsite?
well, the nature is that's their home pot. So try not to disturb them pot. If they will try to avoid us as much as possible. So try not to interact with the animals, but and just stay away.
That's right. I would also stay away. That's so scary. And then what about insects? What can we
Insects.
do? Like,
Um, the best way is to avoid it from the beginning. So like setting up away from standing water, and also if you haven't no other choice, and so we have those spray that we spray on our body to repel insects, and we also have those tiki torch where you can put citronella oil to repel mosquitoes. And also they also sell spray for your camping equipment to
mm,
repel ticks. And you can also spray it on your clothes and other camping gear spots.
interesting. So I'm going to ask another question. I asked it earlier, so you know what I'm gonna ask. But I know everyone's thinking it. How do you go to the bathroom when you camp?
Well, if you're not camping at a state campground where they have facility and you have no other choice but to do your business in the woods, it's always best to dig a hole on the ground to make your deposit pot and make sure you bury it back with the dirt. And also, Paul, make sure you do it 150 feet away from bodies of water and trails.
Um,
Okay.
interesting,
And
interesting.
we should also bring like toilet paper or any like or like stuff to clean ourselves with, right?
It's always wise to bring your toilet paper, Paul, because you don't want to start using leaves that might not be good for you, like poison ivy and whatnot,
Yeah,
or
don't
poison
rough
oak.
it too much, right?
That's
We can
Paul.
have some of those essentials that we have at home. Okay. And like there was always a quote or like when I used to camp when I was a kid, everything you bring in, you should bring out, right, brother?
Yes, Paul.
and like leave things that you as you found it. So if you're gonna take something, like don't take it out from the campsite. Kind of leave it where you how you found it and before you started camping.
Yes, but that's a very important rule when it comes to outdoors and also hiking. Also, Paul.
Yes. Since we got the bathroom situation, we talked about that. I guess one last question. Can you share with us why? I know you talk about why you still camp. Your most memorable camping trip.
Um, I've done a couple of unique hiking trips, like kayaking to an island, or do like driving all over the country, camping around, and riding my motorcycle to Canada and camping along the way. But the most memorable camping trip would be my childhood annual camping trip with the family, Paul.
Hmm. Okay. And last, I guess another last question. What advice can you give to those who are, starting off camping? Like we are interested in it, but we're just too afraid to start. Like what are some advice that you can impart with your years of camping experience?
Um, my advice is to just get out there and don't worry about too much about getting the camping gear, specific camping gear. Like take what you have already at home, and you'll learn as you go on, but what you will need based on your own comfortable level.
Yeah, you don't have to like start off big. Like I
Like
guess
you don't have to
this.
go out buy special
Yeah.
hiking gear or special backpack. Just get out there.
Yes, thank you so much for that. So we're talking about camping because we are going to have um a district activity, a district CFO get together next weekend, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in just a sec. So what advice do you have? So you've been to Johnsonville, Brother Forth, right? And you've seen, the area, the space. What advice would you give to our brothers and sisters who are planning on joining us on that activity? Like, what can they bring so they don't have to like go on the internet for it? They can just ask someone trusted. Um, what are some of the things that they can bring? They don't have to bring. I mean, everyone's gonna have their cars. What do you think?
Since everybody's gonna have their cars, you don't have to worry about packing light. So you want to be comfortable on your first camping trip. So get your tent, bring a sleeping bag. I mean, an air mattress, so you don't have to sleep on the ground. So you'll have a comfortable night when you go. And try to stay warm. Bring your blanket, even your regular comforter in your closet. Just bring that, Paul, and bring your regular pillow. You want to be comfortable when you go, Paul.
That's all right. Thank you so much, Brother Forth. We learned so much when it comes to camping. So yes, like what Brother Forth said, don't be afraid, right? Just bring what you already have. And it's great that we have Johnsonville, especially for our first time campers, right? So it doesn't have to be super roughed um, for when you start camping. So it is that time when we kind of have to close off. Do you have any shout outs or greetings for us, Brother Forth?
I just want to say hi to my local congregation of Woodbury, and also to my previous congregation, LIC. Hi, Paul.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us and again for showing us all of the information about camping. And you have such a nice background. It's still crazy that it snowed
Paul.
in spring there in the Woodbury area. But yes, again, thank you so much for joining us. So like we just talked about, we are going to have a district CFO get together at Johnsonville, Connecticut on April 18 to 19. So it's going to start Friday night at around 6 and it'll go overnight up to the 19th Saturday at 11, right before we start INCRadio New York. So everyone's going to have time to tune in and hopefully have service to be able to tune into INC Radio New York next week. So that's one of the biggest activities we have. We hope that everyone joins us. We're already planning on what food we're going to bring. And yes, we will clean up after ourselves so that no bears will come after us. So yes, please do invite your family and friends to come over. It's a big space there in Johnsonville. We have a lot of space for you. Some of our local activities. In Forest Hills, there will be a gardening tutorial April on the 12th. On the 13th, Boston has board games, arts and crafts. Bristol will have a tie-dye activity. The 18th, Wyndham Cranston will have a painting activity. The 20th, Rochester will have a team building activity. On the 26th, Bristol will have a nature appreciation activity. For more information, please do not hesitate to contact your local Christian Family Organization officers or your resident minister or worker so that you can join in on all of the fun that will be had this coming April. Before we read our shout outs and greetings, we would like to recognize the hashtaggers from last week. Sister Abby, would you like to do the honors?
Yes, we're going to recognize the most active local congregations and group worship service extensions. So our third place is Portland, Maine. So congratulations to Portland. Second is LIC. And our first local congregation is Woodbury. So congratulations, Woodbury. And we'll recognize our top hashtaggers. We have Sister Cheyenne Hughes, Sister Isabel Galarpe, and Brother Sean Gamido. So congratulations, brethren. So tune in next week and we'll see where everyone is from in our district. Now on to our greetings and shout outs.
Yes, we have a good amount of greetings. So we'll start with Roberto Agsolio. Happy viewing call from Locolo, North Hollywood, California. We have Brother Mario Oka. Good evening here in the Philippines and enjoy watching here on INC Radio New York Satellite Studio. Greetings from local of Brixtonville, District of Caloocan North. Brother Robert Parsha says good morning. INC Radio South Central State Satellite Studio says hello from South Central States. Bonrea Rance, good morning, brethren, from local of Boston, London, hashtag Boston Londonderry in Portland. We have Sister Cheyenne says, hi, Kuya Fourth, representing Woodbury. Brother Carson from Forest Hills says, I use buggy vans to keep me safe from bugs while camping. Very smart, Brother Carson. So excited to see you next week. Sister Joydy says, Sister Joydy loves camping. She's so excited. A lot of people are so excited for camping next week. We have Kyle Argosino. Good morning, for watching while on duty in Oxnard Local. Sister Nicole Tagufa says, kudos to our brother for all the camping tips. What a pro. Brother Ray Valdez Sr. says, arrive before sundown because setting up camp in the dark is very tricky. So everyone, please remember to get to Johnsonville early. Where else? Rochester from Brother Hermie Tudin says, good morning, Rochester. We'll be there and excited to meet all the brethren. And so many more. That's right. Everyone's very excited for camping next week. So if you haven't decided if you're going to go yet, decide now and say yes. Right. Okay. So that is all for our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again to the church administration for giving us a platform to share and speak about interesting topics like this. Don't forget to catch us again next week, Saturday, after our CFO get-together at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 p.m. Philippine Time.
And greetings to our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and to our Christian Family Organization Coordinator and SEPSI President, Brother Angelo Oranio Manalo, and greetings to our INC Radio Station Manager, Brother Wally Taray, and our Executive Producer, Kuya Manley Andaya, and to our District Minister, Brother Sheridan Santos, our Assistant District Minister, Brother Neil Patrick Olmelda. That brings us to the end of our show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And we'll see you next week.
Bring your camping gear.
Yes.
All in Johnsonville.